Greetings, everyone. My name is Yahya Kamdil. I'm from Group Professor David, and today I will present my design for the high school, Franklin High School in El Paso, Texas. So I will start with my inspiration, which was from examining several school presidents, such as the Strawberryville Elementary School, which affected my design in several aspects, functionally and architecturally. So this school here has a compacted and cluster variation and configuration for the plan and circulation. And the school itself used the natural daylighting as a technique in daylighting the space from the inside. And the form itself has irregular shapes that was inspired from the existing concept. So presenting all of these design inspirations has to have the appropriate environment to implement them. So presenting the El Paso site has several aspects and several point of view. The site is surrounded with mostly low-income residential and mixed use combined with commercial and several churches. There was an obvious lack of high schools. Therefore, my project is I'm proposing for a high school project. The problem identification of El Paso and our location that the low-income a majority and deteriorated infrastructure for the place. Our location had a potential access from three sides and easy accessibility from the main road and easy accessibility for the pedestrian and bicycles. And the potential public place location, which is our location, and this is the existing footprint presenting the solidarity of the place. So the problem identification of my project, I'm trying to create a solution to present a way of development and create opportunities. And this would be through creating for the low-income society event spaces that would accommodate workshops and learning sessions to develop the skills for the residents. And also the school itself would present a resource for the society because the lack of the resources was very clear. And creating new opportunities for the workers and the students, and these workers would be from the residents of the places and the locals as well. So I have created three different ideas. The first one was to have a direct analogy from the existing mountains that surround the location, and that would imitate the form itself and create the slanted walls and almost a direct analogy of the mountains. And the second one was cutting from the building itself to have a pathway or a collective space in between the two forms with respecting as well the mountains at the background. And the third one was having the journey itself of the place hidden inside the secrets of the mountains. And that would be respecting the solidarity of the existing buildings and the existing surrounding sites. So my project narrative could be explained in this diagram here. And this is a mixture between the three concepts and the three ideas, and that create the roof that emit the motion, the dynamic motion of the mountain, and having three separate buildings inside that connect between each other from the inside itself, and all of that are covered by the roof that hide the journey that happened inside. Basically, you can know what happened inside this building until you go through it and see what happens. So the massing generation would be the regular shape from the respecting solidarity and the site surrounded buildings, and start to cutting it and having openings and closed spaces, and then enclose that by the folded plate structure roof. So the folded plate structure roof was a responsive idea to the sun shading and illumination range, as it has two shafts in the centers. This is one of them, and the other one is in the next slide. And this idea was basically to have a dynamic roof that would self-shade itself. That would make the heat gain lower, and the used glass for the facades itself and the shaft are a low E glass, which would make low emitting inside. And I used as well exterior louvers that has a mechanical sensors that would track the angle of the sun, and by this angle it will self-shade and open for daylight in the classes as well. The curtain wall is coated with a transparent pattern that was an option to create an inside illumination that doesn't affect the students inside. this idea here represents the analysis of the indoor air quality and as well the wind as well. So this could affect the temperature of the building and will affect as well the indoor quality. So I used here the two shafts that presenting Venturi effect, which collect the air dampers from each floor, and by physical identification of the hot air is lighter than the cold one, so automatically this air will be going through the openings to have a clean indoor air. And the first floor has a 60% of opening to allow the passive ventilation to make the air move well, and increasing the height between the air inlets and outlet to create a stack ventilation inside the building. So my program is having, as shown here, social spaces and learning spaces, and this is the event spaces that would recommend the events and workshops as well, and that has its own facilities and services. This is the second floor, which is having direct openings here for daylight and atriums, and this is the two Venturi shafts that allow the indoor light, as will be presented on the rendering slide. And this is the third one that has social and public, semi-public, and then private, and then the classrooms. This is the site plan that present the ground floor and the context. And by creating this, I was trying to not having a direct access from the main road to avoid the crowdness and avoid potential errors or casualties. So I create two pedestrian accessibility from the sides here, because most of the pedestrian and cycle access will from the two sides of the school. And this here is would be potential vehicle entry. So the project itself has a variation on the spaces. As shown here on the ground floor, 60% of the first floor is open. So these columns here elevate the project, the second floor, and create a passive cooling opportunity as presented here on this. So here I have the kitchen on the center to serve the two dining spaces that would be outdoor, but as well it's self-shading, and it has a potential to be enclosed in the future use. And this is event space here has an accessibility from the outside, whereas the vehicle access and has exits from here as well, or like emergencies. The playground is just to accommodate and entertaining for the students, but this is not a functionally entertaining because again, the mission was to create a development project for the space. Moving into the second floor, which is have two main stairs that takes you up for it, and I have two egress here, escape stairs that continue to the whole the full height of the project. And the classrooms are oriented and have louvers, mechanical louvers, and all of them has overlooking for the outside courts to gain daylight as much as they can, and have this journey and experience of the natural light. This is the second floor plan to be more clear. Again, the two Venturi shafts and the double height event space. The third floor was also a reputable plan, but this time has a mezzanine that from both sides here that would allow a double height on the ceiling for both of this facade, and have maximum again daylight into the building, and the library and the labs and the staff room. This is the eastern elevation representing the folded plate elevations. And this is the northern elevation as well. And the western elevation is the southern one. And this is a perspective longitudinal section presenting the idea of the two shafts that have daylight, potentially daylight in from the inside. And this is the elevated floor here, and representing the acoustical ceilings in the classrooms and the event space as well. And in this library have the full height of the folded plate structure. And these other sections crossing by the egress stair, and here as well showing the courts and the daylight inside the building. This is a detailed section for what exactly I would like to have in this area. which has the transition zone between the natural shaft, Venturi shaft, and the classroom, and the acoustical panels and the louver as well, and where's will be the motor for the mechanical louvers. And this is a perspective section that has the details and key plan for the class, and where's the exactly going to be the daylight emitting both sides of in this section. Moving into the structure diagram, presenting the structure sequence of the building. According to the side report, we'll have the excavation and pouring the foundations, and then connecting the columns and the shear wall and the bracing to it, and having this sculptural coating that coat the concrete columns. And my flooring are a composite deck that is repeated on the second and the third floor, and then I have the folded plate roof connect to the beams and the girders. Moving to the axonometric of the project, this is showing the composite flooring and the steel beams that connect the steel girders and the triple pane curtain walls that are mostly used, having as well some of the spaces low E glass. And this is the operatable louvers that spread among the spaces that mostly need these louvers. And the Venturi chimney that has different heights that penetrate this folded plate roof, and has a skylight openings to allow the penetration and to have some shadings in these spaces. This is a conceptual sketch that represented a passive system and generative diagram for the space from the inside, and having the AC dampers and supply for the spaces for each floor. That was the first generative idea. There was two equal shafts, and then in responding to the dynamic roof, it has a variation in the height. The classroom itself has an air return and air supply and a VAF box to have several space climate zone control. And the ceiling here is acoustical ceiling to have respecting the noise, respecting and lowering the noise in the space. This is an initial imaginary of the space from the inside, and how the ceiling have extrusions and is not a static ceiling. It has extrusions and at high points and low points and some of these, but at the end, the clear height for the class would be at the lowest point would be 10 foot, and at the highest point would be 12 foot ceilings. This is the one of the imaginary renderings for the pathway through the shafts that has emitting the daylight inside without using artificial light, and having natural daylight from the inside. This is a simulation for the model itself as a physical model, presenting the sculpture models, sculpture columns that raise this floor here, and the classrooms as well. This is also using 3D rendering, presenting the light folded plate roof again to reduce the heat gain into the building, and the mechanical louvers operate according to the sun location and the elevated floor and the sculpture as well. This is atrium access toward the collective hall. It's double height ceiling, and it has mechanical louvers, and this is the playground and the eastern facade as well. This is the interior collective space where the light would be emitted from the inside, and the classrooms that has this entry toward the semi-public space, and then the classrooms. And this is acoustical ceiling, acoustical cladding to reduce the noise gained from the inside. This is the atrium access toward the event hall, and this is the dining as well. And the double height would allow more dynamic movement and journey inside the building itself. Thank you, and I'm waiting for your feedback.